So in this video I'm going to talk about a number of plot points from Avengers Endgame, but I'm going to also point out that this movie is going to be so detailed and so in depth that nobody really has the full theories of what's going to happen. So the movie is going to start with Captain America seeking counselling, because what's happened is half the world's population has disappeared, and the world goes into this morbid sense of depression and helplessness, including Captain America. So he goes to these counselling sessions where people get together and they talk about their experience of Thanos killing their relatives, their friends, their colleagues, and essentially taking away half the world's population. This is going to be an element of redemption. So a number of these characters will go through this redemption period and reflect on what's happened, reflect what's happened in their lives last year, and almost maybe in 20 years, they'll reflect all their experiences that they've been through. And it will start with Captain America. But then we'll go on to Tony Stark. So Tony Stark is effectively lost in space, is in this ship that's run out of food and run out of oxygen, but he's going to be with Nebula. Now there is a connection between these two characters, and that is that Nebula was with Thanos during the Battle of New York, and Thanos was watching what was happening. But also, in Age of Ultron, Tony Stark was given this vision by Scarlet Witch of Tony Stark watching all the Avengers dying when they tried to battle Thanos in the future. So it's a vision that's haunted Iron Man, and he knows that when they go to fight Thanos, they die. And this is Nebula, who's touching the shoulder of Tony Stark, because Tony Stark is either starving to death or is dying of lack of oxygen. And Nebula is able to do this because she's part machine, so she requires less food and less oxygen. So she's going to be left alone on the ship on her own. Now at some point, obviously Tony Stark will have to be rescued. But then we go to Hawkeye, who is in Japan, and he's working for the Mafia, where he becomes his character Ronin. And again, he's kind of like this depressed character who's fallen into this realm of just seeking money to survive, and is like a hired hand for the Japanese mafia. And Black Widow travels to Japan to retrieve him and to find him. She's shocked that Hawkeye has become Ronin, and this is another symbol of what Thanos has done. So Thanos has changed the world and he's given new powers. So perhaps in Japan, the mafia has become more powerful. So it's almost like an apocalyptic world where half the world's population has died. But we then go to Hawkeye, who's training his daughter how to use a bow and arrow. Now Hawkeye's daughter is played by Emma Thurman, and she actually joins them in the battle against Thanos, because that was part of Iron Man's vision in Age of Ultron. He saw Hawkeye sitting next to his daughter who was dead. But then we go to Thanos. Now Thanos has become a farmer, and this is part of the comic. So Thanos becomes a farmer and he falls in love with a character called Lady Death, and he essentially retires onto this farm. Now this scene is Rocket visiting Thanos, and it's perhaps made to look like Rocket is going to try and assassinate Thanos. But what it actually is, it's Rocket. He has this plan, or this method of being grouped back to life, and he goes to Thanos and he tells him a secret or something that could threaten Thanos. So Rocket tells Thanos that he will help Thanos retrieve this weapon, or to help him out, give him some sort of information based on a secret. In return, Thanos has to be grouped back to life, and then Rocket and Groot will leave and never be seen again. So this is Rocket visiting Thanos, trying to bring Groot back to life. Now this is Ant-Man, where he's currently locked in the realm, in the quantum realm, but he escapes the quantum realm and he comes back to Earth, and he finds that half the world's population has been killed off. So there's all these posters of missing people who are actually being killed off by Thanos. Now this is Ant-Man returning to where the Avengers are. But as you notice, he's got his van with him. In the back of the van is his teleportation system that allows him to enter into the quantum realm. But obviously it's small because it's based on the size of an ant. Now this is the scene where Iron Man and Nebula return, but we don't know who saves them. Who saves Iron Man, provides him with food and oxygen. Now we're going to say Captain Marvel, because this is the scene, or this is the point that we know that Captain Marvel enters Avengers Endgame, because she tells the Avengers that they should go and kill Thanos, and the reason why they failed in the past is because she wasn't with the Avengers. And this is the stage where War Machine questions why Captain Marvel wasn't with them, or has only appeared up until now. And I find this element a bit frustrating, because War Machine isn't one of the main characters. So it's left to War Machine to challenge the reason why Captain Marvel's now appeared. And almost all the other characters, all the other Avengers that are more established, like Thor for example, they're more accepting of Captain Marvel. So this is a way of shoehorning Captain Marvel into the story. Now this scene has two important characters missing, and that's Iron Man and Ant-Man, and what they're doing is they're working together to convert Ant-Man's machine that enters Ant-Man into the quantum realm into a larger machine that allows normal sized people to enter into the quantum realm. So that's why those two characters are not in this scene. Now this is where things start to get really messy and very confusing, and nobody really has a solid theory for it. Because these are images that have been leaked from a Battle of New York. So where Battle of New York took place originally in Avengers, it's now recreating in Avengers Endgame. But as you'll notice, you've also got Ant-Man in this scene. So a lot of people are assuming there's some sort of time travel period where the current Avengers time travel back to the Battle of New York and they miss the battle and they go through the hole and attack Thanos. But why would they have Ant-Man in this particular scene? So what happened is, as the original Battle of New York was taking place, there was also the other Avengers battling alongside them. Or they go back and they change the history of this battle for a particular reason, and that isn't really well established. Nobody really knows why. If you have your theories, please leave them below. But the particular question is, why is Ant-Man in this scene? Because if you think, let's say for example, the original battle took place 4 years ago, the Avengers would know at that point, 4 years ago, that Ant-Man was there. So they've gone back and changed history, but the people at that current time in history 4 years ago didn't notice, and that is quite a quandary that nobody can really work out. So again, if you have any thoughts, leave your comments below on particular points. Now this is the scene where the Avengers attack Thanos when he's on an area of rock. And that is during the Battle of New York. So Thanos was watching the Battle of New York in space. He's essentially on his own because all his troops are on Earth during the Battle of New York. So Thanos is exposed and he has no one to protect him. So the Avengers today travel back in time to the Battle of New York, as we've seen here, and then they go on to attack Thanos. But the problem is that Tony Stark or Iron Man was shown an image of this fight by Scarlet Witch, and he shows them all losing. And this is the image. So this is what Tony Stark saw during Age of Ultron. He saw them all dying. You see the Incredible Hulk with these almost like these spears or in him, and they're all dead. But there is one question that wasn't covered. What is the role of Captain Marvel? Because Captain Marvel is obviously not in the scene. So Captain Marvel has somehow changed the history of time, because Scarlet Witch showed this image to Iron Man in Age of Ultron, but there's no Captain Marvel. So Captain Marvel has somehow been able to enter into the time and change it. And that is why this scene does not go the way that Scarlet Witch showed Iron Man in Age of Ultron. Now this is another real quandary that people are struggling to understand. And again, if you have any thoughts on this, leave them below. But this is the piece of Lego that's been leaked or is currently on sale, which shows Iron Man Hall of Armor being attacked. And it appears to show different Iron Man suits being used with artificial intelligence. So Iron Man is able to replicate himself, so Iron Man becomes more powerful somehow. And perhaps that goes into future movies where you see these Iron Man suits being used by artificial intelligence. But what it appears to show is you have this battle taking place with Thanos whilst the Battle of New York was taking place originally 4 years ago. But the Avengers lose that battle to Thanos. And then Thanos goes on the counter-attack. So Thanos returns to Earth with his minions, and he attacks the Avengers. So he destroys Iron Man's Hall of Armor. He also destroys the Avengers compound. So what essentially has happened is that Thanos killed half the world's population. Half the Avengers tried to fight back. They failed. Then Thanos attacks the remaining Avengers and destroys their facilities and weakens. So now, halfway through Avengers Endgame, the Avengers are actually weaker than what the point where they started the movie from. So the first half of Avengers Endgame is seeing the Avengers become weaker and weaker because they fail in their first attempt at killing Thanos. Now, this is who I think will kill Thanos. And the reason is that Nebula was with Thanos during the Battle of New York. So Nebula saw what happened, and she witnessed the first attempt where the Avengers travelled back in time 4 years to try and kill Thanos. So she witnessed the first attempt where they failed. But then you have Nebula going through the process of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, where she explains to people, and her story comes out that she was really torn apart by Thanos and turned into this half machine kind of creature. And Nebula goes on the offensive towards Thanos and tries to kill him. So the person who suffered the most out of all these movies, the 22 movies, is actually Nebula. And that is why it's more poetic and more fitting for the person who kills Thanos is actually Nebula. Now, most people think that the whole concept of Avengers Endgame is who kills Thanos. That's the whole question of this movie. But that isn't really what's happening. Now, there is another big question that nobody can really cover or really identify how it plays with the plotline. And that is the role of Katherine Langford. So Katherine Langford is listed as an actress on Avengers Endgame, but it doesn't say who her character is. Now, it's widely presumed that her character will be Moondragon. Now, Moondragon is the daughter of Drax, but that's when they were humans. So Drax and Moondragon were human characters, and then Thanos killed them, and the humans went on to become Drax, and one of them went on to become Moondragon. But we don't know at what stage Moondragon enters into Avengers Endgame, or what role she has. Whether she has an important role from the beginning, or whether she just appears right at the end, we don't really know. Now, another role that's very difficult to determine is the role of Professor Hulk. Now, Professor Hulk is really the merger of Bruce Banner and the Incredible Hulk. And the reason this happens is that Scarlet Witch in Age of Ultron, she gives the Incredible Hulk an image of his own death fighting against Thanos, very similar to what Tony Stark saw. So Tony Stark was shown the image of everybody dying, but the Incredible Hulk was shown the image of him dying. You don't actually see that in Age of Ultron because it would give too much away, but that does happen in the story. So the Incredible Hulk, he battles against those images and he becomes this combined character. So it takes the best elements of Bruce Banner and the best elements of the Incredible Hulk and mixes them together. And this does actually happen in the original comic. So again, nobody can really know what impact Professor Hulk has on Avengers Endgame, whether it's be a large impact or very small. But again, leave your comments below if you think this will happen. Now, another question is, who can reverse what Thanos has done? So Thanos has killed half the world's population, and the question is, who has the power to reverse that? And one person who could do that is the Ancient One. Now, the Ancient One is actually listed as a character in Avengers Endgame. So perhaps the Ancient One is the saviour. So the Avengers kill Thanos, and it's actually Nebula who deals the final blow to Thanos. And that leaves the Infinity Stones, which the Avengers don't know how to use. So then the Ancient One uses the Infinity Stones to reverse what Thanos has done, bring back half the world's population, and also the other half of the Avengers that were killed off in Infinity War. But that does leave another massive question, and that is, who's the next villain? Because what you have to remember is that Avengers Endgame isn't really the end at all. It's just another stepping stone in the Marvel movies, because Marvel is a business, and these movies are designed to make as much money as possible for Disney. So there will be obviously more and more movies after Avengers Endgame. So there will be another villain who replaces Thanos. Now, it's widely rumoured to be either be Kang the Conqueror or Galactus, but we don't know what role or what point this villain will come in and replace Thanos as the main villain. Now, some people believe it will be a third of the way through, or some people believe it will be right at the end. Again, we don't really know, so if you have your own thoughts, leave them below, or what stage this will happen, or who you think the actual villain will be who replaces Thanos. Another point is this image. Now, this is an electronic gauntlet. This image has just been leaked, and it shows this electronic gauntlet that's been made presumably by Tony Stark, and this is used to control the Infinity Stone. So it could be the Iron Man who takes control of the Infinity Stones and kills Thanos and reverses what Thanos has done. So again, there is a lot of confusion as to what actually happens in Avengers Endgame. So if you have your own thoughts on this, please leave them below, because some people believe, there are some comments that show that this device doesn't actually work. It's like a plot line that doesn't work out and it's something else happens. So there's still a lot of confusion as to what actually happens in Avengers Endgame. So if you have your own thoughts, any comments, please again leave them below. And also like and subscribe to this video, as I'll have regular updates for you. And also leave your comment below of who you think will kill Thanos, or who do you want to kill Thanos. So again, thank you for watching, and also please like and subscribe.